All right. We are back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce. It is Sunday. You know what that means? It is Slow Down Sunday, where we slow things down just a little bit. What are we talking about today? Well, it was fate. I was reading about different releases for this date, and then when I put on my Pandora station this morning, the first song to play was the song that I had decided for Song of the Day today. So it was meant to be. We are going back to the late 1960s, 1966 to 1968, when the band Buffalo Springfield put out 3 albums. I feel like people generally know who Buffalo Springfield are, but they can't quite say who they are or who was in it. They get the general gist, but I'm going to help you out with that in a second. Your song of the day is For What It's Worth, and we'll talk some more about that, but that's the song that I picked for today. Great song, by the way. But I'm going to help you out a little bit, so let's see if we can get through this together. But I've created this little flow chart for you. You're welcome. Buffalo Springfield. All right, who's Buffalo Springfield? Neil Young, Stephen Stills, Richie Furay, Jim Messina, Bruce Palmer, and Dewey Martin. Okay, like I said, they put out 3 records, 66, 68, leaders of the folk rock movement along with the Byrds, right? Later on, Neil Young, Stephen Stills, they go on to form Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. And of course, then Neil Young goes solo, and Crosby, Stills, Nash, they make their own records back and forth to this day, right? Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, where did they get each other from? Well, David Crosby came from the Byrds, speaking of the Byrds, right? And Graham Nash came from the Hollies. Now, the Hollies, they were famous for covers, mostly. They had a lot of hits that were all covers. And then Graham Nash would leave, and then a few years later, they would have that huge hit, Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress, in 1972. How about that? All right, Richie Furay, Jim Messina, you recognize that name, right? They go on and form the supergroup Poco with Randy Meisner, George Grantham, and Rusty Young. Poco. Awesome band. They would split up, and Jim Messina would grab Kenny Loggins and form Loggins and Messina. Remember Danny's song and Your Mama Don't Dance and House at Pooh Corner? Well, Kenny Loggins had briefly played with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band on that album, Uncle Teddy's Banjo or something like that. Anyway, he had written 4 songs for them. Loggins and Messina, of course, hugely popular. And then, of course, Kenny Loggins would go solo, and Footloose, Top Gun, Caddyshack, all those songs, right? That's where you got that from. Randy Meisner would go on and join the Eagles. There you go there. And on a side note, Dewey Martin played drums for a brief time for Patsy Cline. There you go. That's your Buffalo Springfield brief history of what happened, how they got there, and where they went. Again, now you know you're Buffalo Springfield. You can put on all 3 of those records and just chill out, and you'll just, it's folk rock at its best, like I said. But your song of the day is For What It's Worth. Now, I read first that it was released on this date, today, in 1967, and then I also read that it was put out on December 23rd, 1966. In any event, it was a standalone single. It wasn't on an album at first. And most people equate this with a war protest song, right? Because it is a protest song, but it wasn't to protest war originally. Stephen Stills wrote it after these Sunset Strip curfew riots in 1966, November 12th, 1966. Remember, Sunset Strip was getting really, really big, and Buffalo Springfield were the house band at the Whiskey. And a lot of loitering, a lot of partying, a lot of late night. The people were getting fed up with it, so they put up a 10 p.m. curfew, and they were just not having it. They thought their civil rights were being trampled on, so they had a protest. About 1,000 young people showed up, including Jack Nicholson and it was Peter Fonda, right? Yeah, both of them. They were both handcuffed at this event. Anyway, this song was written after that with that stuff in mind. The title came after the song was written. The title, For What It's Worth, is not even in the song. And then It was so popular, they, on the second pressing of Buffalo Springfield's eponymous record, we talked about that the other day, self-titled record, they added it at the second pressing of that album. So there you go. That is For What It's Worth. Of course, after that, it was in every single Vietnam movie or a protest 60s movie, whatever it is, it's made its way throughout there. But it doesn't get old. It's a good one. So you're going to listen to that today. At the very least, listen to that song, but throw yourself some greatest hits of Buffalo Springfield today. And then if you want to get yourself moving later today, throw on some Kenny Loggins, a little Danger Zone for you, and a little I'm All Right, and your day will be complete. Once again, you're welcome. Song of the day on Slowdown Sunday here in the Rock Cave. Looking forward to next week. Whatever you're doing today, make sure there's music involved. Have a good one, and as usual, I'll catch you on the flip side.